Hey YouTube, MikeLibertarian here. This video is a response to Epidemic 2020, who asks 5 questions from 2 Christians for atheists. I've always known Epidemic to be honest and fair-minded, so I'm going to try and answer his questions as simply and directly as I can.
Question 1. What kind of evidence would it take for you to believe in God?
Not what would be a good start, but what evidence would actually convince you. And when we say God, we're talking about a mind which is all-loving, all-powerful, meaning he can do everything but the logically contradictory, all-knowing, and eternal.
Empirical evidence, and lots of it. By that I mean something about the God claim which is tangible, therefore testable. Repeated testing produces overwhelmingly positive results. It doesn't have to be 100% positive, because there's outliers in most studies, but overwhelmingly positive results. And finally, other aspects of the God claim which are tangible, tested, and repeated testing produces overwhelmingly positive results. A good example would be the claim that God answers prayers. Now, studies into the power of prayer might find an increase in the rate of survivability through dangerous surgeries, or an increase in the speed of healing after major invasive surgeries, and benefiting, of course, those who are prayed for versus those for whom no prayers are said. Unfortunately, however, actual studies on this issue have found that the results of prayers are indistinguishable from random chance. This suggests that if there is a God, he doesn't really answer prayers, at least not if you're sick in the hospital. Anyway, what's going to convince me is not one study that points to the existence of God, but rather a quantity of studies which together create a mountain of evidence supporting the existence of God, enough to outweigh any evidence that there would be for an other explanation other than God, naturalistic or otherwise.
Question 2. Is there anything that I can do that could possibly convince you that God exists?
Like, would any argument we could make have the potential to persuade you?
A philosophical argument alone is not going to convince me if it doesn't have empirical evidence. Saying that the universe exists, therefore God exists, does not convince me. Saying that we exist, therefore God exists, does not convince me. Saying that beauty, love exists, therefore God exists, does not convince me. Saying that the universe appears to be finely tuned for our existence is a step in the right direction, but it does not convince me, because the empirical evidence that we have gathered suggests that it supports a series of naturalistic explanations which suggest that it is we who adapted to the universe rather than the universe being adapted to us.
Question 3. If you realized that an all-loving God existed, would you desire to have a relationship with him?
Yes.
If you said yes to that question, would you want to have a relationship with him just to get into heaven, or for some other reason?
I would be very interested in what divine knowledge God would care to impart upon me. I'd like to know the answers to the questions about life, the universe, and everything. Of course, an eternal existence in Elysium isn't bad either.
Question 4. Have you ever met a Christian who lives their life in such a way that it is clear that they really believe in an all-loving God?
Meaning they live a life which is impressively kind, loving, and selfless.
Yes.
And question 5. Has the presence or lack of that type of Christian had any impact on your atheism?
No, because I could say that of people I've met from almost any faith. Even for atheists, if you take God out of the equation, I've met people who clearly believe what they say, and most of them have been very kind, generally good people, and a few atheists that I've met have even been remarkably selfless. Anyway, I hope that answered your questions, Epidemic, and if you have any more, feel free to hit me up. I look forward to any further conversations with you. Always free. Peace.